up in horsey heaven, here's the thing. You trade your legs for angels' wings. And once we've all said goodbye, you take a running leap and you learn to fly. Candles in the wind. And though we all miss you every day, we know you're up there in heaven's hay. But here's the part that hurts the most. Humans cannot ride a ghost. Bye bye, little Sebastian. Miss you in the saddest fashion. Bye bye, little Sebastian. You're 5,000 candles in the wind. Everybody sing it now. Bye bye, little Sebastian. Miss you in the saddest fashion. Bye bye, little Sebastian. You're 5,000 candles in the wind. Maybe someday we'll saddle up again, and I know I'll always miss my horsiest friend. Spread your wings and fly, spread your wings and fly.
I tell myself to get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta turn the L into a win. Make 'em bow before you get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta turn the L into a win. Make 'em bow before you get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. Can't lie, no phony. Bad time, no rolly. White eye, no oldie. Look high, no holy. Oh no, I know me. I can't control me. Go, go, just slowly. High, low, still lonely. Give me some peace, I fall to my knees. I'm praying. Passing beliefs, I catch a release. Betraying. So bittersweet, goes round and repeat. Replaying. Dreaming so deep, but I never sleep. I tell myself to get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta turn the L into a win. Make 'em bow before you get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta turn the L into a win. Make 'em bow before you get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. Give me some peace, I fall to my knees. I'm praying. Passing beliefs, I catch a release. Betraying. So bittersweet, goes round and repeat. Replaying. Dreaming so deep, but I never sleep. I tell myself to get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta turn the L into a win. Make 'em bow before you get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. Get up off the floor again. When you're down, you gotta
As the sun sinks, life closes tight as the load turns its back and it grieves goodbye. Never wanted to believe or have to understand. Time waits for no one, child, woman, or man. The burdens that gather, the crosses that bear, was given and taken like the ocean to the sand. Never wanted to believe or have to understand. Time waits for no one, child, woman, or man. No final curtain calls, no more storms that rearrange to hold you in my
take your seats. The meeting will begin shortly. You will have an opportunity to continue networking later this evening. For now, please have a seat. Thank you. Welcome to this month's Arizona Real Estate Investors Meeting. Please take your seats. The meeting will begin shortly. You will have an opportunity to continue networking later this evening. For now, please have a seat. Thank you.
Come take my hand and focus on the light down at the end. Say words to comfort me. We still have time for hope. That's all we need. Morning breaks, enemies have come together. Mouths have gone silent in the arms of strangers. Come take my hand and focus on the light down at the end. Say words to comfort me. We still have time for hope. That's all we need. Beneath with me. Beneath
From the hallway. Grab your seats. Hello, Prescott. Hello, hello. Awesome. There you go. We're going to get started in about 60 seconds, everybody. you everybody for being here. My name is Mike Delpre, Executive Director of the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association. Welcome. Here at Esria, we've been around for 23 years serving real estate investors. Our mission is to provide education, networking opportunities, and market information so you can make the best decisions possible in your real estate investing business. This is our adult chart. This is our disclaimer. So you're going to meet a lot of new people. You're going to hear a lot of new information. You're going to get invited to be a part of other events. You're going to get invited to be part of other transactions. So we just ask that you do your due diligence just like you would when you buy a property. Our agenda tonight, I'm going to kick the night off with some things going on around Asria. Tina Tambor will come up for her market update. We'll break out into some networking, and then we'll have our power and property expert panel. We have a lot of exciting guests tonight. So, all right, I'm just going to jump right into the happenings. And before I do that, I made a mistake. All right, Diana. Can you guys see that? All right. Diana, why don't you come on up? So Diana Jackman is one of the best title companies in the world. And as I said last month, when I first started doing real estate, I brought all my transactions to Diana. Everyone would always say, you got to work with Diana. You got to work with Diana. So what you guys need to understand, not all title companies are equal. So when you're in our world as real estate investors, we got liens, judgments, we got hairy transactions, missing relatives, and we need a title company that understands how to work through those hurdles and get the file closed. And that's why Diana's here. So let us know about yourself.
I'm Diana Jackman with North Star Title. Yes, we specialize in investors. We understand everything you're trying to do. If there's something we cannot do, which is very, very rare, we will have a resource for you. So it's always a great idea, just start with us. If you're at a different title company, which happens from time to time, and you have questions, still feel free to call me. My card is out there. I can probably answer most of your questions, help you navigate through. We've had a couple last week where someone called us. They had taken a home down to one wall, and they were trying to get through a broken priority situation, and the escrow officer didn't quite understand the certain endorsements that could be given in that regard without being charged or having hassles. And so if you're working with a title company currently and you're having some roadblocks, we can also help you navigate the conversations through them. Their underwriters, I typically know who their underwriters are. I typically know who to call and how to help you through that situation. So we're always just a great resource as a partner here for Asria so that you can just get your deals done. That's all we're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you. Give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Diana. I appreciate it. And I have one more guest here. I want to bring up Alden from Silvercrest Opportunity Fund. Him and his father, James, are very successful investors here in town, and they're our corporate sponsors, and this event happens because of Alden and his father and a lot of other things we do around Asria. So I just want to give Alden a few minutes just to tell you who he is.
Hey everybody, I'm Alden Guajardo with Silvercrest Opportunity Fund and Mobile Mailbox Money. How many people know you could buy a mortgage? In most situations, people think of that situation in being the borrower. Did you know you could buy a loan or a note, effectively cash flowing outside maintenance, management, insurance, and taxes? You become the bank. So I teach investors to become the bank in notes that I originate with a 2% default rate, effectively curing tired landlordism, right? So it's all the benefits of passive cash flow and a collateralized lending opportunity, buying performing loans. So at a 2% default rate, it's pretty risk mitigated. There is risk in investment, but taking a calculation into that and factoring in for a winning, successful cash flow is of utmost importance. So you could either invest in the fund at a 10% return for a 1-year term paid monthly, or 12% for a 3-year term paid quarterly, or I sell one note to one investor and we either cash flow together or you buy that whole position, effectively achieving financial freedom. So I appreciate you guys being here today. Thanks, Mike, for the time. We do have a booth, so feel free to come by and ask some questions if you like. I've done about $30 million in transactions. That's about 400 doors here in the Arizona market.
All right, Alden, thank you so much. Go check Alden out. Great guy. All right. So most importantly, our business associates, which are our vendors, sponsors, that's who's out in the hallway. And we're going to have plenty of time to meet them after Tina's presentation. So I highly recommend getting to know them because wealth is a team sport. You can't do everything yourself. So you're going to want our business associates or your real estate investing service providers as your team. So we have title companies, hard money, roofing, attorneys, insurance, all investor friendly. You want people that understand our business working on your team. So this is all on our website and out in our hallway. So make sure to get to know them a little bit. Next month in this room, Joe O'Brien, who's out in the hallway as well, will be our main presenter. And buy your first rental property without getting burned, 2026 landlord playbook. So if you're looking to sharpen your skills as a landlord or get into the buy and hold business, his presentation in this room next month is the place to be. And as always, Tina will be doing our market update. Asria Advantage is our digital newsletter, comes out on the first of every month, and Marcus Maloney and I, we do the Asria show comes out Friday at 8 a.m. on all podcast platforms and YouTube, so make sure to take a listen. Trades list. So once again, not only do we have our professional business services, we have air conditioner companies, electricians, plumbers, pest control companies. We do background checks on all the companies and their employees, so you know you have the right people going through your house. So if you scan that QR code, you'll be able to have access as part of your membership to our trades list. Home Depot Pro, another great benefit. They are one of our business partners for the last 20 years. So if as an Asria member, you get a special coupon code that goes into your Home Depot Pro account. This allows you to get instant discounts while you shop at Home Depot. You get 2% cash back, 20% off your liquids, 10% off cabinets, and a bunch of instant discounts as you shop. It tracks everything for you. Then twice a year, you'll get a gift card or a check in the mail from Home Depot. So make sure your account is set up properly. We could always help you out with that if needed. Our online community, another way to network besides our events. So within your back end of your login of your membership, you can have access to our forum. We buy and sell deals on there. We have our haves and wants. You could ask questions, answer questions. It's a great place to continue networking and building your business. So upcoming education, scan this QR code. So I'm gonna ask you to scan a lot of things tonight. So this is for our subgroups. So outside of this meeting, we do about 10 other events around the state of Arizona, from Prescott, Sedona, Tucson, and we always have something going on for you. So fix and flip group, buy and hold group, beginners group, which is this Thursday, the Phoenix Real Estate Club on the 4th Tuesday. So there's always something for you to get to meet like-minded people here at Asria. So this will take you straight to our calendar to see what's happening. And if you're new to Asria, when we take a break, I'm going to ask you to come over here to my left, and I'd just like to introduce myself, but also the beginners group, which is this Thursday at the Central Phoenix office. So if you're kind of trying to figure out what do I do next, where do I start, who would help me, Asria will show you the path and how we could help you succeed in real estate investing. And that's this Thursday. I'll teach that class. It's from 6 to 8 in our Central Phoenix office. Then our workshop for the month, we do a workshop every month, is this one right here: find the deal, run the numbers, make the offer. So this is from 9 to 1, April 25th. So the reason we put this together, through all our workshops, we just had the wholesale training, we had the fix and flip bus tour, we had the creative finance weekend, and the number one thing I heard is, how do you run the numbers? Like, okay, let's find the deal, but how do we actually run the numbers? What does the 1% rule do? Does it even exist in Arizona? What's behind the percent? Everyone always wants the quick formulas. So we want to show you what's behind those formulas and actually spend hours on just analyzing deals so you can make instant decisions and confident decisions when you write these offers. And we're also going to show you how to creative ways to structure the offer to get it accepted. So we're going to be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at our office on April 25th. Very affordable, $48 for members, $78 for non-members, okay? You can sign up on your QR code on your agenda. We'll take you to everything I'm talking about tonight. Dealmakers Accelerator, Asria has private coaching, so if you're interested in having one-on-one coaching with Joe O'Brien and I, he'll be out in the hallway and we can explain more about the program. And we'd love to have you as a member here at Asria. Like I said, we've been serving real estate investors successfully for 23 years throughout the state. And I'm going to have a member spotlight come up soon, and he'll let you know what he thinks about Ezria. But this is the place to go for all the information you need, all the people you need to know in real estate investing. And the last thing I wanted to share, and I have a question for you, is does anybody know what a city councilman is? 0 hands. Well, one and a half, maybe. Has anyone, so I'm assuming you never voted for a city councilman, right? So the last election, for what I'm about to tell you, was about 85,000 people, 60,000 people actually voted for the council race. So a council member is your first line of contact. So the power goes out, something's wrong with the streets, public safety, housing, right? Fines, whatever it is, it starts with the councilman. And that's your first person that you call that's on your side. So it's a very, very important position that doesn't get a lot of light on it or education on it. So I chose to run for Phoenix City Council in November this year. So I wanted to let everyone know, because there's a few things I've noticed being in the real estate world. The councilman works on zoning, land use, permits, red tape. Does anyone build houses or ever pull a permit? Has it ever took longer than usual? Right? Okay, so I hit something right there, right? You know, you go down to City Hall, there's about 40 booths. There's only 2 people working, right? You know, so one of my things that I really noticed is we're a great city and we're growing, and we're rapidly growing. Job growth, right? Population growth. But what I'm seeing, and we're feeling, if you live in Phoenix, is our infrastructure is not keeping up with that growth. So what do you notice? Have you seen more homeless people? Is that fair to say? Right? They need help, right? We need better paths for them. We spent over, $5 million, or $50 million in the last couple of years, and it's gotten worse by 10% every year. 600 people die on the street, right? And our budget has been upside down in a deficit every single year. Our general fund is in a $39 million deficit, which is police, fire, emergency. This is all important stuff that affects our daily lives and our businesses and our tenants, right? So we need to get the budget in order. So that's one of my passionate projects that I'm working on today. So I love your support. If you're interested to whether invest in the campaign, it'll be a good ROI guarantee. Volunteer, stay connected, scan the QR code. I'd greatly appreciate it. I just wanted to share that, so thank you for listening. And next, one of the most important parts of the night, Tina Tambor. Are you here?
I'm here.
She's here. You guys ready for Tina and her great market information? So she's gonna get connected. So we all know Tina. So for those that don't, she's been serving our great state of Arizona with great market information. This is how we make decisions in our business every day, is the information she shares and puts together. When I go to the national conferences for all the RIAs in the country, nobody has a Tina across the country. We have very special information that we have access to in our market. So I'm really thankful that she spends the time to be here with us. So after Tina's done, I'm going to do our member spotlight. I have a special guest speaker, Warren Peterson, who's our Senate President of Arizona and Attorney General candidate. Then we're going to go out to break, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to have our power panel for tonight. Sound good? All right. Tina, are you good?
Well, I'm almost good. Yeah, hold on. There we go.
All right.
Good.
The show's yours, Tina.
Actually remembered to set the timer today. All right. Welcome, welcome. We have a lot to go over as usual, but I'm going to do my best to stay on this 40-minute timeline today. So, but first, we are going to do our fun photo of the month, coming to us from the Tempe History Museum. This is the Shop of Art on 26 East University in 1972, for anybody who was around during that time frame. And I just love these old pictures. I do want to tell you, I was 1 year old in this picture. And we did have color, okay? We had color photography. I don't know why they always have all these gray pictures, but this is what it looks like today. In case you don't recognize that, in case you are not familiar, this is the music venue of Shady Park is that same building. And do you guys remember the controversy where they decided to build a retirement community across the street? Needless to say, they had a lot of noise complaints, and they ended up having to shut down shortly after COVID. But anyway, there you go. There's your little history of the month. That little building has been there for a bajillion years. So that's our fun photo. Let's move on to the housing market. All right, haven't had to use this meme since 2020. But needless to say, there's a lot going on right now. We were going in a pretty good direction. If I were to summarize 2026 so far, January and February looked like everything was going to normal, and then somebody turned off the gas. All right, so that's where we are right now. Gas prices, the only reason I'm putting that up there is just so you can see that, they stopped rising for Phoenix anyway, even came down a little bit. But we have been here before. So for some people across the nation, these gas prices are outrageous. But for those of us in Phoenix, we're like, what else you got? We've been through this, okay? The good news is, I guess, if you could call it that, our gas prices tend to go down as fast as they go up sometimes. So fingers crossed, we'll be coming down soon. But the reason we're bringing up gas at all is that it flows into the cost of everything. So when it comes to the housing market, inflation is the main thing we're looking at this point to see which direction mortgage rates may go. So this was the inflation report that just came out on Friday, going from 2.4%, which everyone's like, yay, to 3.3, which they're like, boo, on that. But if you will allow me a rant today, okay? Because if you look at inflation, if you search on US inflation, this is the #1 headline I got every single time. It says, inflation tripled last month. What does that tell you? Most people. If you hear something's tripled, do you think that now what was $10 is now $30? Is that where most people's brains go? Okay, yeah, thank you for allowing me this little rant today, because that's not what it means. Okay? What it means is that the rate of increase month to month went up, tripled. What does that mean? It went up by 0.3% and then went up by 0.9%. What that means is if you have a budget of $100 from last year, January of this year, that budget would have been $102.40. February would have been $102.71. And now, as of March, that budget is now $103.63. Okay? That is not a tripling of costs. All right? And we are literally talking about an extra 92 cents. However, I will tell you, we don't want to have this rate of increase month over month over month over month over month. Okay? That's bad. But can we not say stuff like that in our headlines? Can we keep it a little less dramatic? I think we have enough drama as it is without wondering if all of a sudden I'm going to have to spend, instead of $50 on gas, $150 on gas. All right. But you know what? Meat's gone down, so we have that going for us. Okay. So thank goodness we can have another steak. Everybody in Texas rejoices. So if you want a good measure of how the market is going, I am using Logan Motoshami's hair from Housing Wire Daily as an impact statement for how housing analysts have been doing during the course of the war. So I actually commented on this video. I don't normally comment on videos, but he even replied to me. He's like, when you try to float alone in this environment, my hair. So yeah, it's a little rough out there. Here are a couple of headlines about are we heading for a recession or not. So these are all literally within hours of each other. Okay, if you hadn't noticed, on the April 7th, U.S. 2026 recession fears rise, new data signals trouble ahead. Literally 2 hours later, U.S. economy not going into a recession. There's encouraging technical details. And then 4 hours later, maybe we are going to hit a recession, but we need it. All from MSN, by the way. I love it when I get the same exact news outlet with those headlines, literally within hours apart. So if you're a millennial, you're like, been there, done that.
bring on my fourth recession of my lifetime. If you're Gen X, it's your sixth. If you're a boomer, this would be your probably 10th recession of your lifetime at this point. So with all of the talk of recession, people wonder, what does that mean for housing? So how does housing respond in a recession? Well, let's first of all talk about what is the main indicator that is used for recessions. And I'm going to go with the SOM rule. The SOM rule is not inflation. It's based on jobs. Unemployment is typically the tipping point, the last domino to fall for them to call a recession. So what this is a visual representation of when the unemployment rate goes up by 0.5% higher than the lowest point of the last 12 years using a 3-month moving average. If you need the formula, I wrote it down for you. All you need to know is this pink line that I put in there. Can you guys see that? That pink line, that's 0.5. When we get to there and we kissed it, we literally kissed that line and went back down about a year or two ago. That's when we were talking about recession last time. And we just kind of been dancing with it, you know, playing around, but not actually breaking it. But as you can see, every time that indicator has broken 0.5, meaning that your unemployment started to go up, that has been a recessionary indicator. So are we in a recession? Are we going towards a recession? At this point, it doesn't look like it. But there are things that we may not want to be so upset about, okay? One of the reasons why unemployment versus unemployment, we are actually doing relatively well, but with our job growth, we've got our job growth numbers a little bit up, down, in case you can't tell that. It's like, which way is it going to be this month? But it's this unemployment rate right there that's just hanging out, actually came down a little bit to 4.3%. So because our unemployment's not rising right now, but our inflation is, that is where the feds are probably not going to do anything other than maybe, well, we'll see if they decide to raise rates. But unless they see the unemployment rate start to get worse, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of Federal Reserve movement. But the job growth reports is definitely looking good. We're looking at our labor force participation rates getting higher in the main age groups, but the overall labor participation rate going down. What does that mean for our wages? When overall labor force comes down, creates a shortage, and that's usually good for keeping your wages up. So that's important as well. But what we're seeing is a bigger percentage of that 25 to 54 actually participating, and I think we're seeing some people retire out of the workforce. Now, the question is, how does the housing market respond, specifically mortgage rates? How do mortgage rates respond during a recession? And going all the way back to the 80s, the general trend, all of those gray bars, those are all the recessions you've lived through. After each one of those, we see the rates do what? Go down, exactly. And what happens when rates go down? Even if unemployment's going up, you have the vast majority of people are still working. And so ironically enough, the housing market starts to recover. So now that they've been banging that recession drum, I'm like, don't tease us, people. Don't get me too excited now. Because if you look at this, see these recessions in here? For those of you who didn't live through this period of time, that teal color is a short sale, the red is a foreclosure, gray is a HUD foreclosure. Okay, that was our foreclosure crisis. Even during the foreclosure crisis, we started to see sales go up. You could argue that the housing market hits their own recession before an actual recession is hit. So here we are, we were just barely recovering here. And if we were to hit a recession and rates were to come down, what do you think is going to happen to that? We were just sitting here treading water, waiting for the change. Now, do I want a recession? We don't need to have a recession in order for things to recover. We've seen things recover before without them. So I'm not saying, hey, pray for recessions. Nobody wants that. Okay, all I'm saying is don't be afraid of one if we have one. Typically, prices do not decline during recessions either, because when the rates come down, the demand goes up, you don't see prices necessarily drop. 2008 was a special occurrence. All of this foreclosure activity was special. We're not seeing that right now. There's not a whole lot of expectations of that either. So we're already seeing the mortgage rates, thank goodness, come down. With that inflation report, there was a little bit of nerves saying, what were they going to do today? They actually came down a little bit, probably because they had already priced it in. You know, a lot of times if they're expecting inflation to go up, they've already priced in that inflation report into the mortgage rates. So we're at 6.39. Not ideal, but it's not 7%. We have sold plenty of properties at 6.39. We sold them last September at 6.39. Okay? Even at higher prices at 6.39%. So 6.39 is really, again, we've stated under 6.5 is where ideally we want to be, but perfect would be under 6.25, right in there, just to get back to where we were before. But right now, we're just going to have to deal with a little bit of uncertainty. And that's what we have seen. Basically, what the war has done is it's put a bit of shock and awe into the buyers. That shooting up of mortgage rates from 5.99 to 6. Gosh, how high did we get? 6.6 at one point? That's a lot on their payment. If they were expecting to pay $2,500, now they have to pay $2,625. That's enough of a shock to maybe they'll wait. So it's not that we end up having a crash. It's that the housing market has a pause because we don't like to scare the bunnies. Don't like big, bold movements in mortgage rates. We don't like big, bold movements in general, the stock market and things like that. So what it does is it stuns them. And so what we've seen is the new contracts written every week has definitely taken a little bit of a hit, down 7.7%. We had been hoping that we would have a pretty decent April. And I don't know why everything that's crazy needs to happen in April or May. What is it? COVID was March. Tariffs were March. More in March. Can we wait until the end of June once just to get us through the season? So yeah, what happens when you have a shock and awe event, I'm just going to pick on COVID, you will have a drop where they pinch the hose of demand, and then when it's released, you will have a surge. So this is just an example, a recent example of 2020. You can see that drop off and then the surge after, and then it gets back to what we would have had probably that season. So very much, I believe we have a lot of buyers out there waiting and ready to buy homes. They were already in our pipeline, and now they're stunned a little bit. And then when those rates get back to just perfect so they can save that extra $10 on their mortgage payment, then they will get back into the marketplace. And we might have a little surge beyond June. So don't feel like, oh, you know, it's not going to happen. It's just a pause. So where we're at for everything in the pipeline waiting to close, you can see here we're just about dead even with the last few years. We dipped off just a little bit. Hopefully, fingers crossed. The shorter the war is, the better it is for the housing market, the better we can get back into some form of certainty. But we have to deal with what we have today, so we're seeing a little bit of a lull. And but we've had worse, let's just say. The bar is really low for improvement, okay? So let's talk about whether the market is in a buyer's market, seller's market, balance. What are we doing today? Look, nice and boring. Supply went up by 2.3 points. Demand went up by 2.2 points. They literally balanced each other out, and our Cromford Market Index is flat. So still flat in a buyer's market, but the thing I care about right there is that buyer line. More buyers is a good thing. So what we're seeing in the Cromford Market Index is just a flat, boring 51st dates kind of thing. Every day it's the same thing. It's like at this point, it's like it's going to take a little while to get back to balance. But right here, we're just stable, just regular old everyday buyer's market. We look at the history of buyer's markets. You can see buyer's markets are not generally our normal market. But when you look at the demand level, which is in the red, okay, see this little red line? This demand level is similar to where we were in 2023. Can you see that, the red line? I can't keep my thing stable. That's 2023, a little bit of 2019 there, and then 2014 and 15. Right there, 2014, 2019, 2023. The big difference is this time we have more supply. Every time we've hit this, the supply has either been right there equal to put us in a balanced state like 2014 and 15, or it's been lower, putting us in a mild seller's market. But this time, with this level of demand, we are in a buyer's market because the buyers have a lot to choose from. That's the only thing that keeps us apart. But I always put this up because you have to understand, just because we're in a buyer's market does not mean crash, okay? There is perspective, okay? That's a little regular everyday buyer's market, buyer's advantage. That is the precursor to a crash right there. That's not where we're at. So anybody who says this is it, we're all going down in flames, the math doesn't support that. And you could argue that we've kind of already gone down in flames. Actually, from 2022 to 2023, we saw about a 13% drop in price. And that doesn't rival 2008, but it's pretty significant for a lot of people. As far as investors go, when you are choosing where you're going to purchase assets, whether it's for short-term or long-term hold, my recommendation is usually to stay in a seller's market, okay? If you go to buyer's markets, when you're in a buyer's market, we expect prices to drop greater than the rate or below the rate of inflation. So if our rate of inflation is now 3.3%, you're going to get less than 3.3% on your investment, possibly negative. And anybody who owns properties in Pinal County and needs to sell within the last 5 years is probably realizing this. Even though it doesn't show up on the prices, it's showing up in the incentives, isn't it? And some people are finding that they don't have enough cash flow to match the builders. So that's why, as an investor, short or long-term hold, if you're going to go out into the Pinal County, go long, like 5 to 10 years out. But if you're thinking you're going to hold it for 3 to 5 years or even flip, you want to stay in the green areas because that generally means you have a better chance of selling that property within, say, 6 months, if that's what you're going to do. Okay, most of our cities are getting better. I have some highlights here. You've got Goodyear. Well, Goodyear's still in a buyer's market. It is actually improving quite a bit. If it stays at this level, it could pop back into balance. But also Fountain Hills. These are all based off of single family homes, by the way, not condos. So Fountain Hills, if you've got a single family out in there, one of the top seller markets. So Chandler, Fountain Hills, and Apache Junction. Staying up there in the top 3 are our main seller markets today. I'm just going to bypass this for time's sake. Just kind of gives you an idea of the balance, the outskirts versus the interior cities versus the cities on the edges of town. All right. As expected, when you've been in a buyer's market for as long as we have, which is now about a year and a half, we've been in a buyer's market, you're not going to get better than the rate of inflation. So right now we're flat. Flat as a pancake on our median, which is 460,000 for March to March. We're not doing April yet. We only have 8 closing days in April. Dollar per square foot, same, flat, up just 1.1%. So not a lot of movement here. But this is where you want to be careful. So when you're acquiring to flip, obviously we expect you to be making improvements and all of that, but beware of prices coming down, especially in the areas that many of you are operating, which is that 300 to 400,000 range. You might be finding yourself in a declining market, so that means that obviously your acquisition prices need to accommodate for that. But this is also good for buyers. It is bringing more buyers, the fact that the prices are coming down, and we did have a really good March. And of course, you've got your luxury is pretty stable at this point. But your March sales were up 8.6%. Woohoo! Well, I don't know what April's going to be like, but we're just going to bask in March right now, okay? 8.6%. Every single one of our price points had seen more buyers. And this is why I'm saying I think it's reasonable to expect that we might see a surge after the rates go back down, because we were already experiencing one for the month of March. So every single price point saw improvement this March compared to last March. Even when I go by day, because of course we had an extra closing day this year compared to last year. But we closed an extra 569 deals. That's almost 12 extra deals per day in the month of March. And with that, we, even amongst this headlines like this, Phoenix is now one of the coldest housing markets in the United States. This was actually off of the Phoenix New Times, which was referring to this article that was ranking the hottest cities in the United States. And this article put Phoenix and Mesa actually in the bottom cities, if you'll notice that. We were pretty low on that. But isn't this what they wanted? So don't you think this is more like a perspective? Because when you look at the Phoenix New Times, what they were using to rank us was median sales price, whether it was rising or not. So this is very mild price appreciation. How many homes are selling above asking price? 13%. That's about right. That's what we're showing as well. But do you know that that's actually a pre-pandemic level? Pre-pandemic for March, anywhere between 13 and 15% was normal before COVID. So now they're like, oh, this is terrible. Not too many going over asking price. Median days on market, listings with price drops. We've talked about that. That's nothing. That's just sellers' expectation of price coming down. I don't see that as a big deal. But here's about the perspective I was talking about. Notice how surprise is on there, ranked 117 out of 127. This was in the same week. Surprise cracks the top 3 in buyer-friendly markets in the United States. Doesn't that sound so much nicer than frigid, barren desert? I mean, here's the thing. I was asked to comment on this on KTAR one morning, and my opening sentence was, we're not dead. We're cold, maybe a little chilly, but we're not dead out here. We're actually selling quite a bit of these homes. It's just a matter of how many are actually active. So when you look at what's hot versus what's not, we're going to go over that a little bit here. We actually, when it comes to single family homes, we have some pretty decent hotspots. And this is what I want you to focus on, because if you are going to be flipping, especially on the contract ratio, it's good to be flipping an area that you know is going to be hot in both of your price points, where you're acquiring it, of course, and also where you're selling it. So we're looking at single family homes in that Southeast Valley area and along the I-17 corridor and into Maryvale is actually doing pretty good. If we go to homes under 350,000, see all that gray? I had to create the grays for 2021, that crazy crack cocaine 2021, where I had to have insane, frantic, unbelievable, and what the frick. Those were my grays, okay? So if it's the darkest gray, it just means you only have properties under contract and nothing active for sale. So in this price point, you have quite a bit of heat in that. That doesn't look like it's one of the coldest in the valley. 350 to 4, you'll see it's still pretty hot. This is where a lot of you acquire your properties, by the way. And this is where you sell them. Also, this is the 400 to 500 range. You'll see the Southeast Valley lighting up on that. A lot of Central Phoenix lighting up on that. You might either be green. Not a lot of cold in this price point yet, but I would say Southeast Valley is pretty hot. Anything within that TSMC as well. This is 500 to 600. You can see the 51 corridor is lighting up all the way into Cave Creek in that price point, but of course Southeast Valley and especially Northeast Mesa. And then finally, I just wanted to show you 600 to 800 because what? Coolidge and Florence? Didn't see that coming. So I did look up Coolidge. I'm like, Coolidge? What's Coolidge doing in the 600, 800 horse property? Almost every single one of them horse property. So now we know where all the ranchers are going. Coolidge and Florence. Days on market, 37 days. No big deal. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about condos. Okay. Condos, 58 days on the market. We're going to be going into condos in the last 15 minutes here, just to let you know what's going on with them. But let's do our little investor highlight first. So we're going to do both flips and landlords. So on the flip side of things, in these markets, you'll notice that there are not a lot of flips. This is not the market for that. Okay, you get a market like 2021, even a turkey can fly in a hurricane, people. You can be a terrible flipper and still make money in that kind of market, but not this market. This market, you really need to be smart about it. Am I right? And if you're anything, you are predictable. Okay. It looks to me, between your acquisition and sale price, you are hanging right there. Preferably it's 30 to 40%. In the past, that's what we've had. But lately, many of you are settling for that 29% of your acquisition. So on top of your acquisition price, you're very, very consistent, almost like a formula. Some of the areas that you might be working in, it depends on what's important to you. The dollar amount, if you want the highest dollar amount median gain, it's Scottsdale. And they also have the highest sale price. But if you're looking for the lowest acquisition price, say in the 200s, like over here, you're looking at Casa Grande, possibly Sun City. Sun City had the highest percentage gain at 43%, with a median acquisition price of $235 and sale price of $349. So for many people, that is a great price to be in, because if you're going to go to Scottsdale, your median acquisition is $700. Might be a little hot for some people in that price point. Or it could just be days. It could be days. Chandler won the lowest holding time for flips at 116 days. So I gave everybody at least 365 days to flip their house. I figured that was hopefully enough time. This is a little map of everybody within the last year that actually made money on flips. So I don't know how much you actually made, all right? I don't know how much carpet or flooring or whatever you put in there, you're not required to tell me. But I do know that if you sold it for less than you purchased it for, that's probably a loss. So we do know losses. And I show you both of these charts or maps just to let you know there are no bad areas, only bad decisions, right? But you also have a lot of good decisions out there. So this is a max profit of 80% of your initial. So you can, actually this is a new chart of ours that hopefully we'll be launching for you. So you can go in and find out maybe some areas that other people have been having success in and price points and also. But it's happening. This used to be a lot more dense in 2021. You couldn't even see the individual dots. Okay, let's talk about condos. Condos. If you're going to flip in condos, or you have a condo that you're thinking of selling, these are the areas that are either balanced or hot. If your zip code is not on here, you're most likely a barren desert. It is cold. It is the chilliest market for condos right now, but not everywhere. So if you're looking for a pattern on this, the pattern I see is freeways. So if you're thinking you're going to be acquiring a condo, perhaps as a long-term hold, then my advice to you is to stay close to a freeway, stay close to an employment center. If you go outside of that, you might find yourself, struggling a little bit if you need to let it go or sell it. Notice that there's not a lot of Central Phoenix in there either. You get a lot of older condos, so I suggest newer ones. One of the issues we're dealing with condos, especially apartment style, is apartments specifically. So this is a rent report from National Apartment List. And this is for just Maricopa County, showing that about 4 years ago, we were at about almost $1,550 a month was our median rent. We're down to $1,347. That's $200 less, down 13%. And as you can see, it's kind of drifting down. This is the problem with selling apartment style condos, because they have to compete with apartments. And apartments are seeing our vacancy rates stay at 8%, right? Hovering right around that 8.3%. Normal for us, or tolerable, I should say, is 5. So you'll notice that what is the one thing that will cause your rents to decline? Vacancies. It's the kiss of death. It's what brings everything down. You don't have any calls on it, guess what you're doing? You're reducing the rent, right? So as the vacancy rate rises, the rents come down. They start throwing out 2 and 3 free months of rent, right? And that's what you have to compete with. So if you're buying a condo as a landlord, you know that you have to bring your price down enough to get your cash flow necessary for that. So if you are going to purchase a condo under 1,000 square feet, you can see that right now they're at about $230,000 for Maricopa County. down from 270, so that's down 15%. If I look at what the rent is, 1245. So they have to stay under your apartment rents in order to compete. And notice all those little percentages. Like I said, if you're anything, investors are predictable. So that 6.5%, that is your cash on cash return. So if you were to pay $230,000 for a condo and you got $1245 in rent, you would be making 6.5% annually gross. Do I know what you're spending on it? No, I don't. It's just a general guideline. So if you look at over the years, you've got 6.3%, 6%, 6.8, 6.2, 7.2 if you were lucky enough to buy in 2021. That is a predictable thing. So basically, when you're looking at purchasing an apartment style condo, you're wanting to get about a 6% return if you weren't getting a loan or anything like that. Now, if I were to compare that to a single family home, 1,500 to 1,900 square feet, you can see how stable that price has been, a little bit on the low side at $430,000, down 9.5% from the peak. Rent for single family is ridiculously stable. It doesn't look like that because there's a little seasonality, we'll discuss that, but it's still 6%. You're looking at 6.1, 6.1, 6, I mean, like I said, if you're anything, you are predictable. That seems to be like the going rate. Why does it go up and down by $100? Because your supply goes up and down from the second quarter to the fourth quarter. So if you find yourself with a vacancy in the fourth quarter, you're usually dropping your rent. You have to compete with more rentals. That's why you see that seasonality, and we only compare Q2 to Q2. But isn't that kind of interesting? I thought it was interesting. All right, last few minutes, we're going to talk about condos, more condos. And I think this is just really important. You may not be like really interested in them, but you should be right now. So this came out, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac announced the revisions to their condo insurance standards, meaning that instead of having to insure for full roof replacement, you don't have to do that anymore. This is saving the HOA's money, and everyone rejoiced. But it comes with some other things that are not so great. So while that's going to save a lot of our HOAs some money, they're also increasing the requirement for the reserves from 10% to 15% of your assessments need to be set aside for capital improvements. We have a lot of old condos and a lot of old people in them. I hate to say that, but they don't, guess what they don't like? Raising the HOA dues. They hate that. But guess what's going to have to happen? What is happening right now is that those condo complexes, the HOA fees, now I want to tell you real quick, I am using MLS data for HOA fees. There is no data source for them, and it is crappy data. I'm not going to lie. Everybody who's a realtor in there is like, I know, I always copy the other listing agent, and they never get it right. I mean, you guys know, I know, and you know, that even after you go through escrow, do you go back and correct your HOA data? No, you don't. I know that. But it's all we got. At least I know it's crappy all the way through, year over year, over year, over year. So, even with that lack of, I guess, maintenance on the MLS of this data source, I can still tell you that of the condos that are being sold, we are seeing a regular increase in those HOA fees, and the rates are going up higher and higher. If you are in a central part of town, like Central Phoenix or Central Mesa, where they have older condos and they have people in them that have been resisting raising the HOA dues. Do you know of any HOAs like that? Where they don't want, nope, 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 nope. There's no reason to raise the dues. Well, now they have to. So you can see where the resistance is, and then bam, up 30% in A5014. A5016 over the last 2 years. This is almost entirely insurance, but it's also maintenance issues. The next range of this will be on those assessments, those capital improvement assessments. You might be seeing more of those upon purchase. So just keep an eye out on that. This is Mesa A5202, of 37%, an extra $121 median rise. So again, you might have somebody who's like used to $200 a month for an HOA fee, and then they're going to be looking at $447 in Mesa. That's ridiculous. That's where we are. You can see it there too. of $116. So be aware. Yes. Okay, I got it. 5 minutes. This happens to be my last slide, so it works out. See, I told you. Told you I had you. If you're wondering, I know this is actually a little too small because this is for Zoom, but I'm just going to tell you what this is showing you is what areas of the valley have the highest HOA fees. And you can pretty much figure out it's going to be your high rises. So anywhere like A5254, you're going to have those high rises for Optima. You're looking at a median HOA fee on the top there of, let's see, that is Scottsdale at 5254, $963 a month is the median, half or more, half or less. Yeah. But right now, I'd say prepare your buyer or prepare yourselves that you're most likely going to start seeing some assessments coming through for capital improvements. And you're probably going to be seeing a lot of those HOA dues going up, not just by the rate of inflation either, with these insurance costs and so on. So I'm just, consider this a public service announcement. If you own them, start paying attention to what your HOAs are doing. If you own a condo, make sure that they're actually maintaining the property because you don't want your community to become unwarrantable. Once it becomes unwarrantable, your investment starts to go down very, very quickly. So anyway, here's your, I'm just bringing good news all around, aren't I? Here's your summary. Everything's pretty much good for buyers, but the good news is for sellers that all of those prices being flat and the conditions of where we are finally bringing the buyers back. So started with a D, to see that supply or the demand starting to rise. We're going to have to see how long this war goes, but the shorter, the better for our housing market. And once it's released, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we'll have a good summer. All right, so with that, I just want to thank you guys for having me here.
Great job. So we have two more quick segments I want to run by you guys, and I appreciate if you hang out for a minute. Greg, can you come on up? So what we do here every month is a member spotlight. So the reason we do the member spotlight is sometimes there's new people interested in real estate investing. You know, is this real? Is it a scam? All these uncertain questions that you might have. And then it's also good to see someone that's actually winning and doing very well in real estate investing. Greg Slaughter, longtime veteran ASREA member, what, 20 years maybe-ish? 1999, right? So very successful, and this is the type of guy, he lives off his real estate. I think he built out like 200 home portfolio in the Midwest, lives off that, and he still comes every month when he's in town, right? And he networks, he shares, he gives, wears his heart on his sleeve kind of thing. And I just wanted to give him a minute to kind of let everyone know about a project he has coming up for a few minutes. Then I got a special guest, Warren Peterson, here, and I definitely want you to hear from him. It's going to be very important and good message. So, Greg, you ready?
Thanks, absolutely, thanks. Can you hear me? Do I need a mic? Can you hear me? Oh, no, okay. Oh, sorry, I forgot there was some. I'm usually a big mouth, everybody tells me, so usually I don't need a mic. But anyway, thanks for having me, Mike, and I appreciate that. What I do want to say is that a lot of that success that Mike just told you about was specifically because of ASREA. I've been a member of ASREA since 2012. And as Mike said, when I'm in town, I'm at the meetings. But through the techniques and the strategies that I learned here, as well as the contacts I made, I've been able to do over 1,500 real estate transactions since 2012. And that's taken some time off during that time period as well. And not just here in the Valley, but across multiple states in the country. And I've made millions of dollars, honestly, strictly from what I've learned here at ASREA. So if you just keep coming and you learn and take the techniques and take the strategies, anyone can do this. You just have to adjust to the market. That being said, what I discovered as I was going through that learning process and creating that success is that I had this obstacle, because what I discovered is, well, first of all, let me ask you guys a question. Why did you get into real estate? Now, normally I'd have you answer that question, but I'm just going to tell you the answer, because every single person in this room is getting into real estate for the same reason, whether you've been in it for a while or you're getting in it. Some of you may say you're getting in it for money. You may give me different reasons, but at the end of the day, if I ask you enough questions, you're going to tell me the reason you got into real estate is for freedom. That's the number one reason why you got into real estate. Why you become an entrepreneur is for freedom. So it may be freedom of your time, freedom to make your own decisions, and financial freedom. Every single person in this room is sitting here for that reason. And what I discovered was I was creating all that success is that as my success went up, so did the stress, so did the pressure, so did the time required to do that, and my responsibilities. So what happened to my freedom? As my success went up, my freedom was actually going down, which is not why I got into this industry, which is every entrepreneur starts a business for freedom, but every entrepreneur goes through the same challenge. You grow your business, you grow your success, your freedom drops. So I went out on a mission to discover why does it happen. And I went out and studied the most successful people, not the ones with the success and all the money, but the ones that had the success and the freedom, because that's what I wanted out of being an entrepreneur. And what I discovered is they all do the same thing, and it's something different than most entrepreneurs do. So what I've done is I just wrote this book. I just wrote this book. It just came available on Amazon literally about 10 days ago, so it's hot off the press. As my give back to Azria, because of everything that Azria has given to me, I would like to give you guys this book at cost. Would you guys be interested in having this book at cost? It will show you exactly the formula of what people do to actually achieve the freedom along with the success. So it's available on Amazon right now, and I also want to have a little fun with this because I'm asking for a favor tonight as well. So I need your help with something, if you could possibly help me out. So in the first 10 days, this book has already risen to on the top 10 hot new release list on Amazon, and I'm already in the top 100. I reached number 88 on the top selling books on Amazon just in the first 10 days. So I have a book coach. He's helped me through this. And what he told me is that if I can get 100 people to do this tonight and get the ebook, I've dropped it all the way to 99 cents. You can have this in your hands for 99 cents tonight as an ebook. Now, some of you may want the paperback, and that's okay. The paperback was dropped all the way down to like $6, I think, so it's super affordable. But what I'm going to ask is, even if you want the paperback, could you please go ahead and just add the ebook for 99 cents? What our job is tonight, if you will help me, we will take this book from just barely into the top 100, and we're going to go all the way at least into the top 10 tonight, best-selling books on Amazon. Can you guys help me do this? Please. So on the screen right now, there's a scan code. If you could just please scan that. If every single person in here, the goal is to get at least 100. I know there's at least 200 of you either in this room or online. If everybody could please help me out and do this, I would greatly appreciate it. Plus, it's going to help yourself out. So if you read this book, it will make a difference. So thank you very much. And one last thing before I jump off. Do I have like 60 seconds left? Okay, so what I want to do is Mike brought up the fact that he was running for office. I want to say that politicians, we are all under attack from politicians, from certain bad politicians, right? They're trying to destroy our industry. They're trying to make it harder to evict tenants. They're trying to take away wholesaling. They're doing multiple things. So we need people in office that will actually protect not just this industry, but what is best for the city and the state. So I want to highly encourage you, please support Mike in running for his office for city councilman, because we need people like Mike that will protect us and the industry in the state. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for running, and let's get him elected, guys. Let's get him elected.
Great job. Awesome. Let's help Greg out. He's always helped out the community forever, man. So he's an open book. If you need something from Greg, just go talk to him. So kind of pivoting from what Greg just said about protecting our industry, that's the exact reason why we brought Warren Peterson in, who is our Senate President and candidate for Attorney General. So Warren, why don't you come on up? HB 2486, did you guys hear that? Read on that? It was basically making distressed houses its own class. And you can't buy that distressed house for less than 82% of its value. Who's gonna buy that house? Right? So these are the type of pressure that's on our industry, and the person that makes all those decisions or sees all these things happening. So he's not the bad guy, all right? So he's here to inform, educate, and give us clarity as to what's happening in our industry. So could we have Warren a warm welcome? Thank you, man.
Yeah, and I want to echo what was said before. Please vote for him. As someone who's been in office for about 14 years, I can tell you there is a lack of people who understand business and how important it is. I felt a really so Warren Peterson. I brought up my son so you could see, who he's talking about here. I am currently the Arizona Senate President. I'm running for Attorney General. What got me to run? Well, I actually have a 25-year background in the real estate industry, and here we are in the land of the free, right? America, anything's possible, and I start to go out and try to do stuff, and it's like, hey, you gotta get this license and this permit, and then you get started, and they say, oh, wait, no, you gotta do this, and we don't like the way this is, and it's like, oh my gosh, are we in the land of the free? And early America, when somebody wanted to go out and do something, they went and did it, right? And so for me, what really got me motivated originally was just the red tape that businesses have to deal with. So I have a history of fighting red tape. I'm kind of known as the red tape guy down at the legislature. And so that really is my passion. Another one of my passions, and one of the reasons I've been asked to run for Attorney General, is I'm really passionate about keeping Arizona safe, protecting businesses from crime. One of the things that separates the United States from the rest of the world, and why people will risk their lives to come here, is when you work really hard to earn stuff here in the United States, you're protected from the government taking everything. Well, I say that somewhat. And you're more protected, I guess, in other countries. And you're protected from, warlords, thieves, gangs. There's a public safety system that is in place that can protect your property and your goods. So I'm really passionate about that. America is special. Our Constitution has been exported. It's actually our greatest export. Almost every country has mirrored our Constitution. All but about 6 countries has adopted one form of our Constitution or another. And I think it goes back to the reason is what the prior speaker was talking about. What does everybody want? We all want freedom, right? And our Constitution gave us that freedom. It helped us. And the real key, if you guys remember the Founding Fathers, the Declaration of Independence, they said governments are created to protect our rights, our God-given rights, and our God-given rights include life, liberty, and property. Originally they said property, okay? Because they understood that property, which is what you guys are all focused on right now, is the key to success. It's the key to freedom. Now they ended up changing that to something broader, the pursuit of happiness. But our country really understood property and property rights, and that was what set us apart from the rest of the world. So I just want you to know, you guys have a friend there. He did mention a bill. I can tell you that bill would basically make it impossible to, be a real estate investor, flip properties. We killed that bill. That bill is dead. It is not going to see the light of day. So, and, I will tell you guys all, your business is on the ballot. So please get engaged. It's really easy to be apathetic until it's too late. And then when it's too late, it's hard to switch it back. So right now in Arizona, we're literally we have a 1 vote in the legislature, in the House and the Senate, that keeps things pro-business. We are 1 vote away on everything. We've had bills come forward. This one, it died. We were able to kill it, but the reason we were able to kill it is because we have a 1 vote majority. We've had bills come forward that said eliminate our 2.5 income tax. They want to raise the income tax on everybody. We have the lowest in the nation, the lowest flat income tax in the nation. And guess how we've stopped that? With 1 vote. So, and there was somebody who put forward a bill that said you can't franchise businesses or if you franchise the business, it has to go through a government process where we approve it. So if some of you guys want to go out and be part of a franchise, first it has to go through like some formal government approval process to allow you to franchise business. We killed that by one vote. So I'll just tell you this, what I understand and what my passion is and why I've been involved and not why I've sacrificed is that I understand is that property rights are the key to freedom. They are the key to success. And I'm going to take that up to the Attorney General level. It'll be a different, I'm doing policy now. This will be the executive branch. But at the Attorney General level, I want to make sure I am protecting businesses so that when you guys work your tails off and work your butts off, you guys can keep what you earn. So, thank you. Anyways, so that's Warren Peterson, candidate for Attorney General. Got my website right here where you guys can go on and learn more, petersonforag.com. And if I'm happy to field a couple of questions if you want me, or if I've got time, I'm happy to do that. So. Who? Vincent?
How do I explain that? They wanted to break the seal of seeing who owns all the LLCs and all.
It's called Finson?
Yep.
Oh. I hadn't seen that one yet. It's a federal law that's being, okay. So I meant the state legislature. So all of the state laws is what I have been dealing with. So this session we had 2,400 bills, and all of those bills end up coming through my desk. We did not have a bill on that. Anyways, yeah, no, that would obviously be something I'd be opposed to. Yes, sir. Yeah. So here's how I feel. We all have a right to privacy. Arizona is unique. Our state constitution gives us the right to privacy. Most state constitutions do not have that right. But there is a balance, right? We want to make sure that we want to catch kidnappers. This lady who, Mrs. Guthrie down in Tucson, who was kidnapped. Obviously, if there would have been some surveillance there, we would have been able to catch them. So here's the balance. The balance, I think, we don't have that right now, but the balance is if you're going to use a camera or data from a camera, there needs to be a judge that issues a warrant for that. There needs to be a permission, and it can only be used for law enforcement. It can only be used for an emergency, a crime, a child being kidnapped, a murder, something like that. So it can't be used for anything else. So that's where the warrant comes in place. And then on the back end, it's you want to have accountability. So if you misuse, let's say you get the data or you access this data and you misuse it, now there needs to be accountability. So it needs to be a felony if you misuse the data. So that scares, law enforcement from misusing it. So you have right now, there is current, it's basically license plates. If a cop's driving around, he can pull your license plate, all your info about you. Well, it's the same thing. There's penalties if they misuse that. And so the misuse is like, it's de minimis because they're scared. So I believe in the right to privacy, but I also believe that, it's good to use technology to get the really bad guys and to stop the really bad crimes. So you really need to just have really tight guardrails, warrant up front, accountability on the back end, and that's how you use it. So, thank you guys. God bless all of you so much.
Thank you, Warren.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I got one question for you.
Yeah.
When you win, I got your phone number. All right, I got your cell. So when we need you, I'm calling, man.
All right.
You got to answer.
Yeah.
All right, you guys saw it. It's live. All right, thank you, Warren. Awesome. Excuse me? What's your website, Warren? Peterson with an E for AG. Yes. All right, thank you, Warren. All right, so what we're going to do, if you're new to Ezria, come over here to my left. I want to introduce myself, and otherwise, let's go meet our business associates for 20 minutes, and we're going to have our expert panel coming up next, power and property. So don't miss that. Make sure to get back in 20 minutes sharp.
Footsteps on the stone, questions with no answers, voices on the phone, they land among the flowers, their faces strange and kind. We reach across the distance, searching what we'll find. Are we dreaming? Are we lost? Signals calling from the dark, everything about to start. Ready or not, here they come. The aliens are coming. Do you feel it in the air? Lights above the skyline, never seen them anywhere. We stare at our reflections, waiting to be found. The silence breaks and everything is spinning around. Are coming, do you feel it in the air? Lights above the skyline, never seen them anywhere. We stare at our reflections, waiting to be found. The silence breaks and everything is spinning around.
name is John.
Every day is a new day. I'm thankful for every breath I take. I won't take it for granted. So I learn from my mistakes. Yes, beyond my control. Sometimes it's best to let go. Whatever happens in this lifetime. So I trust in love. You have given me peace of mind, and I feel so alive for the very first time. And I can't deny you. And I feel for the first time. And I think I can fly. Sun shines upon my face. A new song for me to sing. I tell this world how I feel inside. Even though it might cost me everything. And now that I know this will be all I control this, I will never turn my back away. And now that I see you, I can never look away. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I can't deny you. I feel so alive. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I think I can fly. See, now that I know you, I can never turn my back away. And now that I see you, I could never look away. And now that I know you, I will never turn my back away. And now that I see you, I believe no matter what they say. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I can't deny you. I feel so alive. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I think I can fly. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I can't deny you. And I feel so alive for the very first time. And I think I can fly.
Always ends the same when it was me and you. But every time I need somebody new, it's like deja vu. I swear they sound the same. It's like they're on my skin. Every word they say sounds just like him. And it goes like this. We'll get in your car and you'll need to kiss me. We'll talk for hours and lie on the Did you ever mean it? How can they say that this is love when it goes like this? We'll get in your car and you'll need to kiss me. We'll talk for hours and lie on the backseat. And then won't write the night when everything changes. You won't reply and we'll go back to strangers. Go back to strangers.
I feel like there is no need for conversation. Some questions are better left without a reason. And I would rather reveal myself in my situation. Now and then I consider my hesitation. The more the light shines through me, I pretend to close my eyes. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend that I'm burning bright. I wonder if the things I did were just to be different, to spare myself all the constant shame of my existence. And I would surely redeem myself in my desperation. 'Cause here and now I'll express my situation. The more the light shines through me, I pretend to close my eyes. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend I'm burning bright. The more the light shines through me, I pretend to close my eyes. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend that I'm burning. There's nothing ever wrong, but nothing's ever right. Such a cruel, it's a contradiction. I know I cross that line, not easy to define. I'm born to indecision. There's always something new, some path I'm supposed to choose, no particular rhyme. And the more the light shines through me, I pretend to close my eyes. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend I'm burning bright. The more the light shines through me, I pretend to close my eyes. The more the dark consumes me, I pretend that I'm burning. And I feel like there is no need for conversation. Thank you so much. What do we think so far? Everybody having a good time? Everybody up top, we good?
Welcome to this month's Arizona Real Estate Investors Meeting. Please take your seats. The meeting will begin shortly. You will have an opportunity to continue networking later this evening. For now, please have a seat. Thank you.
Been so long that I feel different in my skin when we get a little wrong. All I want is to give in. I've been trying to fight it, but I want you with a chaser. I guess I kinda like it. You are my debaser. Do me like you mean it. Say my name. I'm hanging off the ceiling while you break my seat. I might not even leave it when I am black and blue inside. You make me forget who I am. Say my name. I think I need reminded. I'm falling for every line. I could shatter on your lips. We commit the perfect crime when I'm bound around your hips. But I want you with a chaser. I guess I kinda like it. You are my debaser. You are my debaser. Do me like you mean it. Say my name. I'm hanging off the ceiling while you break my seat. I might not even leave it when I am black and blue inside. You make me forget who I am. Say my name. I think I need reminded.
I just can't get you out of my head. Girl, your loving is all I think about. I just can't get you out of my head. Girl, it's more than I dare to think about. Every night and every day, just to be there in your arms. Won't you stay? out of my head. Girl, your loving is all I think about. I just can't get you out of my head. Girl, it's more than I dare to think about. There's a dark secret in me. Don't leave me locked in your heart. Set me free. Feel the need in me. Set me free. Stay forever and ever and ever and ever.
I said, Grandpa, what's this picture here? It's all black and white, and it ain't real clear. Is that you there? He said, yeah, I was 11. Times were tough back in
Coming on in
35.
so we can start getting to our seats.
The Great Depression. If it looks like we were scared.
We did it.
Oh, and this one here was taken overseas in the middle of hell in 1943. In the wintertime, you can almost see my breath. That was my tail gunner, old Johnny McGee. He was a high school teacher from New Orleans, and he had my back right through the day we left. If it looks like we were scared to death, like a couple of kids just trying to save each other, you should have seen it in color. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but you can't see what those shades of gray keep covered. You should have seen it in color. This one is my favorite one. This is me and Grandma in the summer sun, all dressed up the day we said our vows. Can't tell her here, but it was hot that June. That rose was red and her eyes were blue, and just look at that smile. I was so proud. That's the story of mine.
All right, everyone's coming in. It's working.
Right there in black and
Grab a
white.
seat so we can get started. I'm excited for tonight. So how'd you guys like Tina's presentation? Awesome, right? Help you make some good decisions in your business? Awesome. How'd you guys like Greg? Are you guys gonna support Greg's book? I think he's in here somewhere. We definitely check out his book. All right, Greg's still here. Awesome. So today, I know it's actually Fair Housing Month in the real estate world. So, we kind of make it a little political and legislative every April. So that's what you can expect next year as well. The next month we'll get back into getting rich. But this is very important. All right, so everyone ready? You want to get started? Yep. Awesome. Love it. So, welcome to Power and Property Arizona Real Estate Lawmakers and Enforcers. And as I was mentioning, it is Fair Housing Month, so we do kind of go down that lane of legislative and kind of the rules and regulations of what's going on. It's very important. And one of the topics, or one of the things that we do here at ESREA, real estate investors, real estate agents, we're all in the same ecosystem, and we all need to understand how to work with each other. So, that's why we have our panel tonight. Especially in today's market, with it being slower, agents are gonna get more offers that are like cash, creative, seller carryback, sub 2. So one, we got to make sure our investors understand how to do these strategies properly. And then we want to make sure the agents understand what they're receiving or what they're presenting to their clients. So it's very important to get it from the leaders of our industry to see what they're seeing on the back end of, whether it's people getting in trouble, people, whatever it is. So that's why I wanted to put this together tonight. So I'm going to start with a video from John about deed fraud. So when I talk to the commissioner in the beginning of every year, we kind of figure out what the goals are for the year. And the number one thing is that we're dealing with is deed fraud. And I was telling some of the new guests earlier, one of our members last year, they were getting ready to send a $90,000 wire to Fidelity Title. And when they're expecting their wire instructions, and the email had 2 I's in Fidelity, right? So this is scary, right? It's like the person potentially is going to lose a home, and this investor is going to lose $90,000. So it's a reality in our life right now, and we need to be educated and aware. So that's another reason for this panel, right? So I'm going to play John's video. So it's about 2 minutes, hear him out, and then I'm going to bring our panelists up. All right.
My name is John Rowan, and I'm an Arizona licensed real estate agent, a former federal fraud contractor, and the founder of Home Fraud Defense. Home Fraud Defense is the official fraud education partner of Azira because what's happening to real estate investors right now is serious. Last November, I helped set up a sting operation with the Scottsdale Police Department targeting a deed fraud ring. Somebody was selling homes they didn't own, and they were stolen right out from underneath the owners. After that event, I was contacted by agents and consumers across the country who had been victimized and didn't know it until it was too late. Wire fraud, deed theft, title scams, catfishing scams are all on the rise, but there are limited resources and education out there. So I built the solution. Arizona's Department of Real Estate approves of our platform and lists Home Fraud Defense as a consumer fraud resource on the official state government website. Professionals who take our program and earn our designation will be listed in the July update under the department's license search. We're also a member of ARELO. This is an exclusive organization that oversees the real estate licensing laws across all 50 states and 12 other countries. We've been featured in the AP News, the National Law Review, and we're also an approved supplier for fraud training for the Arizona Prosecuting Attorneys Advisory Council, providing continuing law education to that team. Home Fraud Defense is a 3-part prevention platform built specifically for real estate investors, agents, and brokerages. Our trademark app scans text, emails, wire instructions, and even closing documents for fraud in real time. It also gives every property a Sentry score, a deed theft vulnerability rating, and it runs every property against our National Fraud Registry to flag any known fraud activity on that property before you close. Here's why it matters to everybody in this room. 1 in 4 real estate transactions is a target of fraud. 173 million in real estate fraud nationally is lost. If you're buying, selling, or investing in property, you are a target. Every deal you're working is exposed right now. That's why Azira chose Home Fraud Defense as their fraud education partner, and why I'm here today. So download our free app on the App Store, search homefrauddefense.org, and if you have any questions after the event, find me. I'll be here for a while.
Just saw Sammy Glassman, president of the Phoenix Association of Realtors, and Eddie Cook, Maricopa County Assessor. Give them a round of applause for being here tonight. Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're gonna have a good time tonight, and I got a bunch of questions for you guys. But I want this to be, if I'm not hitting the point, just make it happen. Bring up what I might not be seeing. Okay. So first, let's start with introducing ourselves, John. Then we'll go down the row.
Yeah, so I'm John Rowan, and as you saw in the video, founder of Home Fraud Defense, licensed real estate agent here in the state. So yeah, we'll talk more about what we're doing, but that's who I am.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sammy Glassman. I am president of Phoenix Realtor Association, 22 years licensed realtor and associate broker with Realty One Group.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Eddie Cook. I'm the Maricopa County Assessor. I am not the tax man. That's the treasurer. Now, I do enable the treasurer to do what he does, but I am the assessor. And I'm really, Michael, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
No, but you got to tell us about the hat. I love the hat.
Well, the hat is the costume that comes with the assessor's office, and it's a long story. But I am recognized in the public square when I walk into the Capitol and the legislature or wherever I go in politics. Awesome. They'll say, there's Eddie in the room. So it's a recognizable thing. So when you wear your hat, you're recognized. So well, the cowboy hat is part of that. So
it's a conversation starter, right?
It is.
All right, love it. All right, since we got you, Eddie, so from the assessor's office perspective, what are the most common red flags you're seeing right now that indicate potential deed fraud?
Well, I have to share some good news before I answer your question, Michael.
Go for it.
So I've been working on trying to solve title deed fraud in Arizona for over 3 years. I've had a couple of victims that have approached my office. Here in Arizona, it is extremely, extremely easy to steal your home. And unfortunately, but it's a national issue. In fact, I meet with a lot of my other colleagues across the country. We talk about this topic regularly and how each state tries to handle this. So last Thursday, the Governor Hobbs, signed our title deed fraud bill, and I'll talk more about it, but that will come into law here after 90 days after sine die, and it will be the first of its type in the country, but I'll be glad to talk more about that.
Awesome, congratulations.
Now to get to answer your question, some of the red flags. So when, my office, we see about 1,000 deeds daily. Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in the country. We have 1.9 million parcels in Maricopa alone. That's worth about $1.1 trillion at full cash value. And I only have a team about less than 300 that basically values all of these properties annually. So we see 1,000 deeds daily. And what the flags are things like you talked about. I have 2 eyes infidelity. Yeah. Our team will say, oh, that's something wrong with that. So we'll pull that. Notary stamps and notary signatures. If it's on the last page of the the series of documents, that's not valid. The notary stamp has to be along with the signatures of the individuals, the seller or the grantor. It has to be right next to it. When we see addresses at the top of the deed that doesn't jive with maybe some of the other addresses, those are flags. So those are the kind of flags that we see on deeds daily. The 1,000 deeds, we check for those types of things. So those are the red flags that we kind of see.
And John, do you want to elaborate? Like, what are you seeing? Because I know you talk to a lot of different departments. So what are you seeing? What are some red flags we should be aware of?
Yeah, those are the same things. It's crazy how easy it is to forge documents. One of the things I kind of have a demonstration in my training for our program, but I actually just demoed and I went into Amazon and I ordered a notary stamp because there's always inevitably somebody in the room when I'm talking to people and they're like, oh, but those notary stamps, they're like top secret code to get those notary stamps. And I'm like, oh, one finger in an Amazon address and you've got it in 3 days. So yeah, it's some of the new bills that are coming out, they're designed to stop that. But just as an investor, as somebody in the industry, you just have to know that you have to question everything now, because it's just getting to the point with AI. These people are getting better and better and better. So just don't take anything at face value. You got to validate everything.
And Sammy, do you see anything in your world? Can you share what you may be seeing with real estate agents?
Yeah, I haven't seen it personally, but I have colleagues, other presidents around the state, and one who's up in, I think she's up in Greer area. But she gave us a really good insight. If you're ever on a Zoom, so number one, if you're acquiring a property directly from a seller, get on Zoom with them. Don't do it on a phone call. I have had one personal where I'll get a text message that says, I want to buy this property. It's usually a listing that I have, and I want to buy it right now. I need to talk tonight, and I'll send you the Zoom link. And I've gotten it twice, and each time I've said, no, I'll send you the Zoom link. And then I get on the Zoom, because what's the chance? It could be. They never show up. But this one woman told me she was on a Zoom with someone who looked very normal. They were having a great conversation. And she made a comment like, oh, what a cute dog. She commented on the background outside of the conversation, and the AI robot kept going down the script. So if you're on a call with someone on a Zoom and you're sensing you want to test it, comment on something outside of the conversation. And if they don't answer you, you know it's AI.
Yeah. And if I could say something on that really quick, because what happened to me just the other day, because I get the same things, where or on some of my properties, because I have a lot of homes that I'm selling for other people and my own too, I'll get that, hey, can we do a Zoom call tomorrow? And it's very, very sneaky, but what they're doing is, I actually got one, it looked really, really good. It was a Zoom link, and I clicked on it, almost fell for it, and then it said, I'm sorry, this isn't working, click here, and it was a virus. So my computer caught it, but I was just like one click away from downloading a virus. So that's very, very common right now. We're seeing DocuSign fakes coming to you. So if you're in the middle of a transaction, I see them all the time. I have clients send them. So don't click on those. Remember, a DocuSign link only comes from DocuSign.net. It will never come from an individual email address.
So all three of you, so what are the correct first steps as investors and agents that we need to take when we identify something? Like your Zoom call, right? Like, what do we do? So Eddie, maybe start with Eddie.
So what happens is that, first of all, you can file a fraudulent quitclaim deed, forge all the things that John talked about, and it gets recorded at the recorder's office. The recorder's office is literally a librarian. They don't verify that the grantor or grantee are legit. They don't even verify the signatures are correct, and they don't verify that the notary stamp is actually connected to the Secretary of State's office on their registry. None of that. They check the margins because it has to fit in an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I got to make sure that it's not smaller than that. If a napkin was 8.5 by 11, they'll record a napkin with handwriting on it. But anyways, that document gets, recorded at the recorder's office. And do you understand what the penalty of the crime today in Arizona as relates to a forged quitclaim deed to steal your home today? Does anyone know?
Life.
It's a misdemeanor.
Wow.
It's like literally stealing a pack of gum from Circle K today. So this bill that got signed, we added to change it from a misdemeanor to a felony. So that's now going to be in law so that the county attorney and the AG's office can actually go out and prosecute a felony with that. So your question again is?
First steps we should take
First
when we
steps.
notice fraudulent
You got to contact law enforcement. The sad thing is you contact local police like Scottsdale PD or Phoenix PD. They don't have a dedicated fraud for real estate team. They're clueless on this. So then you contact the county attorney's office. The county attorney's office has a little bit more skill in that area, but they're more looking at what I call the blood and gore kind of cases. But then you have to go to the AG's office. The AG's office has a fraud team. His name is Don Carroll. He's one person in their office doing all of these fraudulent deeds on your home. One person, which is horrible with that. But you have to go through, contact law enforcement. You can contact my office. We'll flag it and say this, you know, because we don't know if the deed is actually legit or not legit at that point. Because it got recorded, my office would have transferred the ownership of that property to the new ownership, unless the AG's office says, Eddie, you got to switch it, or some court decision. But you have to call law enforcement.
Just going to interject there real quick because you're talking about Don Carroll. Amazing person. He's at the Attorney General's office. On our program, you know, if you go to our website, you'll see these 10 tools that we built, and they're free. He was pivotal in helping us design those. So his input, the information that he has on the back end for law enforcement, he helped us design those, and so it helps him out. If you as a consumer or an investor go there, you'll see the same things that he's looking at as well.
And Sammy, anything in your world?
I'm going to call these two.
Just call them too? Got it.
I
All
just
right.
made notes
Yeah.
because I luckily, knock on, I have not had a client call and say, we did have one, your title companies now will give you an opportunity to set up an alert, Maricopa Title Alert, and I did have one client call and say, I got an alert on our new house, and as we looked further and dug into it, we realized it was her husband's same name, but a different wife and a different property. It just, they had a common name.
Mm-hmm.
But I luckily, I literally just wrote down.
So that's a new alert system. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can share with you. So 3 years ago, the Maricopa County recorder, Stephen Richard, and I talked about this whole concept of the issue of title deed fraud. So he implemented this alert system. Even though on the Maricopa County website, or if you go to my website, it's called Title Alert System. But it's really a recorded deed alert system. So you can go to the county recorder's website and sign up. You opt into the program. It's free. It's kind of like LifeLock, but you don't have to pay for any money to get into the service. You can basically have an alert sent to your text on your phone or your email, and you can actually say, I want my name or my spouse's name or my parents' name or my grandparents' name as the indexing search of the recorder, your trust, or your business. And the recorder's office can index based upon name. Then any document that gets recorded in the recorder's office, if that name pops up in their system, you will get an email or text message of the link of the PDF document that got recorded. So then you click on the link, you view whatever the document is, and then you could say, oh, that's not me. That's some other Eddie Cook that lives in the valley. So if your name is John Smith, you're going to get a whole ton of these names. But you at least get an alert. You look at the document, and it could be someone's recipe. It could be, a transfer of a property, or it could be this other person. And you can then say, all right, that's not me. But if one of them is actually you, where someone forged your name or, again, forged something that transfer ownership, you immediately have to call law enforcement. Immediately, you have to. Call my office and say, I see that a recorded deed has landed in the recorder's office. You need to put a stop, and then we'll flag it. But it takes action from the property owner to actually do that. And right now, within 1.9 million parcels in Maricopa County, the program has been in place now for 3 years. There's about only 90,000 properties that are in the system. That's ridiculous. There should be like over 1 million property owners in the system, but it's like 90,000. Yes, sir. Oh yeah, that document, remember, we are a state which we call record to race. That's the way the statute is in Arizona. So when that document hits that front counter at the recorder's office, it's immediately recorded. So we're what they call a race to record or record to race here in Arizona. So that document, even though it's fraudulent, does get a recorder stamp of, a number on it, and it's recorded just like a library. And it could be good or bad, but it gets recorded, yes. It could be closed. But I will tell you, fraud does not really occur from title companies or attorneys that deal with property. The fraud usually occurs on senior citizens that have paid off their home. And a person, because there's no mortgage company anymore, they're paying their own taxes, or they forget to pay their taxes because their mortgage payment has gotten, they paid it off, and they were used to the mortgage company paying their property taxes. They forget now they're responsible for paying the property taxes. Those are the targets of the criminals that they're trying to go after. But we also see family members doing this as well. I give an example. Just a couple months ago, I got a call from a wife or ex-wife who just got through her divorce. The divorce decree gave her the property of the home. Her ex-husband filed a fraudulent quitclaim deed saying he was the grantor, granting his daughter the property. That got filed. The wife got the alert, called me and said, hey, my ex-husband is trying to steal my property. So we did not transfer the property ownership. But that document is still recorded. Title companies, when they do a title search, they'll see that document as a recorded document. And of course, they have to go investigate and figure out how to move forward if there's going to be a sale of that property. But you, as a property owner, you got to sign up for the system. That's a really important thing to get with that. Perfect. Sorry for a long answer.
No, good story, man. It's helpful. I'm going to switch it up a little bit to Sammy on the agent side. What fair housing violations are you seeing most often, and where are people unintentionally getting in trouble?
It's a good question. So just a caveat here, if I say we, I'm not multiple personality. I have a business partner, so I tend to say we. And she and I were talking a lot about this today. We're not seeing a lot of fair housing violations, and I think the number one thing that has stopped, that's helped with that, are the cover letters that we had to stop doing during the COVID frenzy. There was a lot of fair housing violations with those. I'm seeing confused faces. So for those of us who are writing offers for our buyers, we would do a cover letter. We used to. So this is the family. They want to buy this house, because we had multiple offers, right? We'd send a picture in. We were trying to appeal to the emotional side of the seller. And then Fair Housing came out and said, stop including a picture, stop telling us their name, stop telling us it's two women married to each other. Like all these areas that were protected, we had to stop doing it. So I really have not seen, we've not seen a lot of the fair housing. Where I would say be very careful is on your social media. I think the number one thing people love to say, and they forget that familial status is a protected class. This is a great family home. Can't say it.
Wow.
So it's just be aware of what the protected classes are. It's not your typical race, gender, sexual orientation. There's developmental disabilities there, and even just certain addictions are considered disabilities. So you got to be really careful and know what it is. You can go through, for those who are looking for licensing, there's some great fair housing like Fairhaven and some unbiased classes and so forth. But just be careful on the social media. That's where I would say to watch out.
Yeah, I know my wife always has to put her social media through compliance with her broker. It's like, you gotta have the logo on the front, on the back, in the middle. It's, it's wild. Why?
It's funny you say that. So Wednesday, I'm heading to the AAR Spring Conference, and I'm going to every single class that's about the new commissioner's rules about marketing.
Okay.
Because there's mixed communication and understanding. But the last mastermind that Caroline and I went to, there was some question about when you do your social media. If you're a licensed agent, when you do your social media, does your name, your team name, your broker name, and your phone number have to be on every slide of the social media, or just at the beginning, or just at the end? And one person said it had to be on every slide. So we have somebody who does our social media for us. It doesn't have to be big, but we just went, Oscar, just make sure it's down along the bottom of every slide. So not a fair housing issue, but more of a marketing compliance with our commissioner.
John, how about are you a broker, John? I'm an agent. Just an agent. Okay.
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it. So you don't deal with.
No.
Not just.
Yeah, I am an agent.
Sorry, wrong. I'm trying to sharpen up.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, Sammy, back to you though. When we were talking on email, what would you advise investors working with agents? Some top 2 or 3 things they should do to build a trust with a real estate investor, because as I was mentioning when we started, our goal as investors and agents is to serve our, the community, right? The homeowner, which is like the agent's client. So sometimes, in my world, and from this perspective, when an agent doesn't want to work with an investor, whether it's a low offer, I know not every home deserves a low offer, but like, there's a reason for it, and then there's a reason for sub 2, there's a reason for seller carry. But I noticed like some brokerages don't want their agents providing those or understanding those offers. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel that doesn't serve the client at the end of the day, right? So like, how can we build trust with agents and show them that, we're legit, this is a legal strategy that can be done?
So from a seller side, I'll speak for sellers. I mean, we have a code of ethics and an obligation to present all offers unless provided written authorization from a seller that we're not to present an offer. So we get offers all the time that are more like LOIs, letters of interest, and we forward it to our seller and we say, this was presented to us. If you're interested, let us know and we'll have them put it on an Arizona Realtor, contract or the MLS access only contract. But anything that comes across the table until our seller provides us written notice, there's nothing wrong with an investor offer. We've got a great relationship with a couple of investors, one that I was working with before Caroline and I started working together. And if we sit down with a seller and we see there's a lot of work that has to be done, and we know that they are not in a position that they have the money to do it or they're going to want to do it, the first conversation we have is, do you want the easy button? Or do you want to put the money and the time and the energy? And a lot of times it happens. I just had a neighbor of mine pass away and the family was selling it. And I said, which button do you want to push? This is the difference of what you can get if you go on fair market value. This is the different, this is what you'll get likely from an investor. If they say they want the easy button, we call up our friend Zach. We know that he wants to see it before it hits the market. We kind of have worked with him enough that we know what his difference is, so we can go into it and say he's probably going to offer you about $100,000 less because we know what he's going to put into it. And we know what his return on investment is. We negotiate beforehand. We now can present it as an offer from a seller to a buyer because we have a new additional clause addendum where sellers are making offers to buyers. And this is being used when the buyer is unrepresented. So I do want to let you know, you got to be really, really careful if you're doing this unrepresented. If you're an agent, great, you understand it. But if you're not an agent, we just did one with an investor and we wrote the offer as seller to buyer. It's basically done like a reverse offer. But we can't give you any advice as investors. We can't tell you when your benzer's due. You just float right past it. If you don't turn it in, oh well. So if you can connect to the agent, so going back to your question, don't be afraid to work with an agent if you want to be fully protected. Because if I'm representing the seller, I can't do anything for you along the way at all. I can't talk price with you. I can't give you any timelines or anything. Okay, you're asking the 2 or 3 things. So it takes time to build that trust. I would say one of the things, because our new rules of compensation, where we have to negotiate our compensation, a lot of agents, and we were talking to a gentleman outside about this, is a lot of times we know as if we find you the property, we're going to get to list it. Don't start with, I'm going to lower your compensation. Start with, I'm going to pay your compensation. And then as we do more deals together, I promise you, we as agents are going to say, let's, just like with repeat clients, I can negotiate my compensation now. We've worked together. We've got a great relationship.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Is Zach a landlord?
Is what?
Is he a landlord, Zach?
He has some, yeah.
Okay.
Some are landlords.
So you got to be that guy. Going back to marketing as investors, right? Yeah. When an agent just says, "I don't want to call Zach," right? Like, that's who you want to be as an investor. Get to be that person. Sorry. So I just love that. Okay. That's awesome.
You probably know who it is.
Yeah, I was thinking. So for Eddie and John, when it comes to our creative strategies, like the subject to seller carryback, wraps, are you guys seeing fraud in your offices around those strategies?
I will say what's been interesting lately has been something called equity fraud, where a homeowner hasn't been keeping up with their property taxes. And now the treasurer has put a lien on the property, and you have, investors that will actually buy those liens because they are looking to, make money on it. Then what happens is that you'll have individuals or businesses, they learn about these liens, and these homeowners that are, have the liens, they're desperate because they don't want to lose their home, because they can't pay for the property taxes. And these individuals will come in, and basically they're like an angel from God, because they say the right things to these property owners and say, we will get you out of this mess. But you got to sign these documents. And these documents are literally, you're the grantor or grantee to these individuals, and they acquire the property. So that's what we're seeing, the folks that are trying to portray themselves, as some miracle from God to help them out of these very difficult situations with that.
John, anything on your end?
Yeah, that's the same thing that I'm seeing is, I get those phone calls from the people that have been the victim. They've been victimized. They call and they're like, what can you do to help? We signed this paperwork with this company. They said they were going to do something. Now we got a foreclosure notice on our door. They put a lien on it. They sold our house. So, that's unfortunately, the dark side of the investment world is, there's 99% of the investors out there are doing it for the right reasons. There's a mission out there. There's always a reason. And I buy a lot of homes, 120 homes in the last 2 years. And, people come to me and I'm very honest. Here's just like what Sammy was saying. Here's the easy path. I can give you cash. This is going to be simple, clean, and I'm very upfront with it. This is going to be, I can take it to market and I can do this, but do you have the heart to go through this? And there's a lot of people that are like, no, I just want to do this. The challenge is there's a lot of, predatory investors out there that will see these people in distress, give them that paperwork, and then they're calling me and saying, can you help? And I'm like, you signed, did you read what you signed? This is like, you signed your house away. So, of course, the Attorney General's office is on it. That just recently, they filed a lawsuit against one big company that was doing it. Tens of millions of dollars they were getting out of people. It was crazy. So, yeah, just in the investor world, there's so much really, really good opportunity out there to do the right thing. And like in my case, when I got that phone call and I found out it was a fraud, it was a forged deed and everything, I had the option that I could have just taken it down that path and purchased that house, and nobody would have been the wiser. Title insurance would have paid. I would have got a house under market value, but some poor guy would have had his house stolen. So, you're going to be faced with that. So you have to just make sure, like in my situation, I ended up buying the house anyway. It worked out. But just make sure you're aware of those situations as you run into them as an investor.
And Sammy, so when we see these situations, doesn't the commissioner, don't you guys have like or the department, they have where you can report these things? Do you have anything at the Phoenix Association of Realtors, or is it just like report sneaky people? Like really, that's one of the things that they told us was like, no one reports anybody, right? Do you guys encourage that, or is there ways that we can report? I know you said call the police, but there's like bad agents, there's bad investors.
John and I were just talking before the panel that he reached out to Phoenix Realtors and is working on getting his website connected to the Phoenix Realtors website.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have that in our program, in our website. If you go to it, it's amazing because it's the only national tool. It's a fraud registry tool. So before you even look at a house, go to our website. It's free. Type in the address on the National Fraud Registry, and you'll see, because right now when I went through my deal, I reached out to the title company. I was like, hey, this is fraud. Is there some button, something we can do to like stop this, report it into the network? And they're like, no, we're just not going to do it. And I'm like, well, what's going to stop them from just going across the street to another title company and finding somebody to close this deal? And they said, there is nothing. Nobody will touch it. So I worked with the Attorney General's office, and I made the system, the database. It is national. So if a title company now runs into a transaction, it's fraudulent, they will load it into the system, we'll validate it. So then if you, as an investor, before you take any deal, type in the address. If it's been canceled by an agent, by a title company, it's going to pop up. So you'll know, use extra caution, right? This has been approached by other people. It's a way to protect the investment community from fraud, like what we went through.
Tell us a little bit more about the program and why it would benefit an investor.
Yeah, so as you go out there in the investor world, the tools that we put together, came from, my experience and all the hundreds of calls. When we started the program, it was a passion project. We put it together. We did these patented tools. We got them approved on the App Store, and they're a great program, and they've been embraced by like I said, the states, and now we're going to all 50 states. But the programs that are out there are designed to help you guys. So as a member here, you do get a discount. So you get a discount into the program. A lot of the tools, basically everything is free anyway. But if you join us, then you've got an unbelievable opportunity to access kind of the professional level side of this and get education on the current fraud events that are happening. So you can protect yourself every single deal. If you're an agent, you can look like a rock star because you can actually monitor on our website. You can log in any property. You can see who's on title, what the most recent title stuff was on it, any recent transaction history, if it's for rent on Craigslist, if it's unauthorized listings, all of that will show up for you. So the program is designed for you, and that's why we're working directly with the state, why we're here with this group, is to provide these tools to protect you. So definitely use them. They're a great asset.
Awesome, cool. Am I missing anything? Is there anything you guys want to share that might help us?
I think the biggest thing for me is knowing that this exists now.
Mm-hmm.
is so important because my eyes were, because you invited me to serve on the panel and John and I talked beforehand, I learned about this being available to us. And so getting ahead of it, I think is really good, and that this group gets to hear what's happening.
So let me tell you a little bit about the components of our title fraud deed bill that we just got passed by the governor signing it. So the number one was to change from a misdemeanor to a felony. So that's good. The second one is when you record a document at the recorder's office, you're now required to show proof of ID. Now, if you're a title company or an attorney that deals with property, you're exempt from that. But now you have to show ID when you show up at the recorder's office when you file that deed. The third one is related to the recorder's office having the alert system. And now remember, the recorder's office can only index based upon a name or business name. The assessors will, starting January 1st of 2027, we will also have our alert system that's going to be based upon the address and the parcel number. So you can now, if someone files a document with your address, you'll get an alert. So instead of being John Smith, well, I'm John Smith at this address. So there'll be at least a minimum number of alert systems that are coming to you with that. Yes, sir.
I work in the land area. If I own a property in a trust that's free and clear, and I want to file a deed of trust on that to cloud the title, do I, as the person recording that deed of trust, have to have any special ID?
Again, any kind of document that's related to property, you're going to have to show ID as an individual. If you go through a title company or an attorney, those individuals will be exempt from that. The fourth thing that's going to happen is that when you get your document notarized, the individual that's, the grantor is going to have to provide a fingerprint in the notary's logbook. So, and that's how we caught one of the criminals out of California, because California state law requires a fingerprint. So we're going to have that in Arizona. Awesome. With that. So those are the four things. There's, again, total 6 things but these 4 things are very significant here in Arizona with that.
There is one more thing too, one other bill that just passed unanimously, a House bill, on top of all the great stuff that Eddie's done. But everything that we're talking about now, it was, it's recorded, then you get the notice. That was a big issue. But Patty Contreras put together a legislation along with some folks that she was a victim of deed fraud a couple of years ago. And that one is ready to be signed as well, I believe, or very close to it. But that one is set up a voluntary system so that you can basically go to it's going to be handled by the Department of Real Estate. So you will register your home with the Department of Real Estate. And this new law says that when title is open, before anything is recorded, when title is open, if you're registered, title companies have to go over to the Department of Real Estate, they have to notify them, and then a notice goes out to everybody that says title has been opened in this property, and it's basically giving you a warning that if that's not you, get on it, do something, protect yourself.
Awesome.
That's going to address your question about it's now already recorded before I find out.
Yeah.
That's great. The unfortunate part about it, that bill died. I'm sorry to say that.
Did it really?
It died.
Wow. Well,
so I'm going to. I did not kill the bill. It died.
Killed the bill.
I did not kill the bill.
Bring us down.
I am going to work with Representative Contreras next session, so it doesn't die next time.
Good.
Something
good.
buried in it, I'm sure.
Well, the title companies were very much against this bill because it was all related to escrow. Anytime an escrow gets opened, the escrow has to immediately go to the real estate department. Well, title companies open up escrows as placeholders. Yeah. And they didn't want to submit these placeholders because it created a lot of extra work because some of these placeholders never go through. So we have to figure out how to optimize it, make it more efficient, identify the legitimate escrows that get open so that Susan Nicholson and her department can actually do a good job with that.
And one of the issues with that I was, seeing on that was the penalties. So when you start putting penalties in with title companies, if they drop something or forget something and don't record it, then they've got liability. So that's something that, I know that they were lobbying against.
Yeah, and I know the nice thing about it is that our bill is post. The deed's already, fraudulent deed's already recorded. What this other bill is on the front end, before. So, which is a great idea, but it just died. My idea that I wanted to do in the front end was, we all own automobiles, right? You get a certificate of title of your automobile. you've never heard of anyone stealing your car because someone fraudulently got your title and filled out, the name or whatever. So I said, why don't we do that for every property in Arizona? You get a certificate of title from a state, you get an official document that's got the seal and it's on a special paper. And then when you transfer ownership, they have to sign it, the buyer has to sign it, and you get it notarized, right? So I thought that was a good idea. On the front end, that got killed because it cost a lot of money to set that up. And I said, darn it. I thought it was a good idea.
A million properties, yeah.
So these sound like some good bills. Like, why don't they get passed? Like, it sounds like it helps the people.
Good question.
Lobbyists.
Yeah, lobbyists get involved, special interest groups get involved. You think they're great ideas, but down to legislature, when they make the sausage, it's messy down there. It's
And then
very messy.
sometimes, when I've talked to our government affairs directors at the association and at AAR, there's other things hidden in the bill. And so people try to sneak little things in, and we call them GADs, the government affairs directors, they read these bills very closely. And they see those things and they're like, this is all great, but we're sneaking something in here that we don't want to go in. So they're working hard.
Yeah, this is like a time in real estate history. It's like that we need to understand the political view and talk to the leaders in our community and speak up and vote, because we work so hard. We take risks. We sacrifice time from our family just to buy a couple houses to get our kids through college, right? And we hear all this stuff, right? So that's why we're here. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
It's also a great time, and I know this can be a little controversial, but I'm going to say it because I'm president of the association. But it's also a great time to invest in RAPAC because we use those dollars. We always tell people it's not the red party, it's not the blue party, it's the purple party. And I've had an opportunity to sit on a panel and meet with people who are running for positions to hear what's your vision on real estate? How do you support real estate? When you look at taxes, percentages that we're looking to be charged to sellers when they sell their property like they have in California, and they tried to do that here and it died, that's because of the real estate investment, our political action party. So when you get your renewal, don't uncheck the box. Make an investment, and it's really going to work. And if any of you want to know how it's being used, call me. I have a direct line to our government affairs director, and I know with my board, every quarter that we meet, I'm like, I want our GAD there. I want her talking about what is happening down at the Capitol and where our RAPAC dollars are going. So it's a great way to make a difference.
Cool, good to know.
And vote for Mike.
And you can become a major investor, and I'm one too, so I challenge you. And there we go.
Wayne, did you have a question? I have time for one last question.
I was just thinking like a criminal. So if somebody was going to try to steal properties from senior citizens,
Yes.
they were paid off.
Yep.
Is there more than one person that can put their name and register on that property?
Absolutely. You can, like I said, I would, sign the current system with the recorder's office. You could put anyone's name. You could put Governor Hobbs' name in your search if you wanted to. The criminal could get notified as well. Yeah, it's an open system. Anyone can sign up. Criminals can sign up. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a simple idea for this. The front-end notification. When you take out a mortgage, they put a lien on your property, and they call the mortgage company for a payoff. Why can't we do something like that where the homeowner could put a lien on their property or something like that? And, that makes it simple.
It sounds simple, and it's true. It's like, that's what a lot of people say, but the issue that we've seen on our education and all the people that have called us is that if somebody's smart enough, and now with the level of AI and the research they do, if they're smart enough to record a lien or a new deed on the house to take you out of it, if there's a small amount on there, or if it's just a lien that you put on it, they can also record a satisfaction at judgment. So, you got to be careful on those things because they're also thinking about that, and we've seen that. So it's not so simple. So just got to protect yourself.
Yeah, and I will say, I recommend every property owner to get their home into a trust or some kind of LLC. As an individual, you're easily a target at that point. And then I always say, keep your mortgage and don't get rid of it. Because those criminals are not targeting those kind of properties. They're looking for the properties that are, paid for and they're individually owned, or jointly owned with their spouse with that.
Thank you. So, wait. So, okay, I'm going to do two last questions. You guys are forcing me here. 1, 2, and we're done, and then we're going to wrap up.
Are they helpful or maybe not needed in Arizona anymore? What's your deal there?
I gotta be careful what I say. So, title lock companies are actually a downfall. They're negative productivity. So like our website, you can just search. You can go to Maricopa County, you can just search. The problem with title lock companies is they make promises. They're under huge scrutiny right now by the FTC for the predatory practices that they're doing, trying to scare people, because they will monitor your title, but they'll do it in batch monitors. In my transaction, she had recorded the deed, and within 6 days, she was basically under arrest. We had caught her, but that's how quick they move. These title lock companies, they'll promise that they'll monitor it, but again, it's post fact, so now it's happened. But they don't tell you instantly. You might get a notice like 2 weeks later when they batch Maricopa County and send those notices out, and it could be too late. So yeah, they don't do anything for you. You can get your own insurance that they offer at a much reduced price. So that's really my recommendation, and sorry for my sponsors out there, they won't like that, but it's just reality. They don't do any benefit.
Got it. Last question.
That go through escrow companies, are they outside? Because you're talking about recording a deed without an escrow company.
Yeah, the question is, do the title deed fraud folks go through like an escrow or whatever? What we've seen, title companies are not the source of where the fraud is happening. It's outside the box, where in Arizona, there's this thing called a quick claim deed. It's back, for 200 years ago or whenever it was, allowing, a family to give their children some property. That's why these quick claim deeds were allowed in Arizona, and they still allow. But this is where the most of the fraud is occurring, is these fraudulent quick claim deeds. And we can't get rid of quick claim deeds because that would cause a huge ruckus in Arizona. But that's where the fraud is. Typically, most of them are coming from quick claim deeds. Most title companies use warranty deeds. You're not seeing a lot of fraud with warranty deeds. It's mostly quick claim deeds.
Perfect. So going down the road, start with Eddie. How do we get a hold of you? What's your contact, or how do you like to be reached?
So the Maricopa County Assessor's website, as you may know, is mcassessor.maricopa.gov. Many of you probably go visit my website for real estate transaction. I hear from many folks it's the best website out of all 15 county assessors to go visit. So we're really excited about that.
You don't have the hat on there.
I don't have the hat. I'm not sure why I didn't put the hat on the website. But my email, if you want to send me anything, my email is eddie.cook@maricopa.gov, and you can send me an email. Eddie, EDDIE .cook, COOK, @maricopa.gov. You can send me an email about any situation, and then I'll forward off to some of my experts on my team to help you out with that.
Thank you. Yep. Sammy, tell us how we get a hold of you.
You can reach me at my mobile number is 602-799-0683, and my email is sglassman@teamglassman.com.
So use her as an agent, join the Phoenix Association of Realtors.
Yeah, ask questions, whatever.
Yeah.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Thank you. And John, and also a little bit about the program in Ezria as well.
Yeah, so the program here, of course, you guys can sign up. It is part of the benefit of being a member here, so you do get a 5% discount on our program if you sign up for it. If you sign up, you get really unbelievable benefits. You'll have your own custom website from ours. It mirrors our app that we have. When you're part of our program, you will get a custom code. So if you use that app, give it to a client, and it's all about fraud protection. It's all about any scam that people are targeted with. It'll show your name on the top of that app anytime somebody opens it. So it's great advertising for you. And it is exclusive to us. We made it. It's our program. And you can get a hold of me directly, john@homefrauddefense.org. And you can search us on the App Store, Home Fraud Defense, load us there. My cell phone, 623-281-7852. That's my cell. If you have any questions, just call me anytime.
And will you guys stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions?
Yeah, I'll stay around. I don't know what you have planned afterwards, but I'll stay around in the back of the room.
You didn't get the invite to the after party?
I'm okay with that, too.
I know you.
I'm good with that.
Awesome. So as we wrap up next month, second Monday of the month in this room, Joe O'Brien will be presenting about getting your first rental property. Scan the QR code on the agenda. Check out our calendar. We have a lot of events coming up, and that's a wrap. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
When you talk about